speak about the passive voice in English. I'll explain the form of the sentences when you change them from active into passive, the form of the verbs, the form that they take with the passive auxiliary and the past participle, and I will give you some examples for you to see the usage. As regards to forms of sentences, in this case, I'll show you an active sentence, I made a cake, and a passive sentence, a cake was made by me. What happens here? In English, the subject is an obligatory element. In the passive voice, we turn it into a non-obligatory element that is the agent, by me. So the object, I made a cake, becomes the subject. So in this case, we change the focus of the sentence. The focus is on the object rather than in the doer of the action, that is me. Okay? So, a cake was made by me. Even I can take out the action because it's not obligatory. As regards the form that the verbs take in the passive sentences, passives are formed by the auxiliary, the passive auxiliary be, and the past participle. The past participle is, for the case of the regular verbs, is the verb that we add ed, similar to simple past. And for the case of the irregular verbs, they are the verbs that we have in the typical list of columns. The columns of verbs that we study, it will be the third column of past participle. For example, by, bought. For the case of the auxiliary be, the auxiliary will take the tense, that means the time, right? The tense of that you would use in the active voice, okay? So for example, if we are dealing with past or simple past, the form will be was were plus the past participle, for example, was bought. And then for the rest of the cases, was, were being, were being, had been, plus past participle, and for the present. These are all the auxiliaries, the forms that the auxiliary be may take in all the tenses, okay? To this we have to add the past participle. For example, will be bought, or I don't know, is being bought. This is just a quick summary of all the auxiliaries, all the tenses, but I recommend you to watch the video on English auxiliaries for you to have a more clear and a refresh of all the tenses and auxiliaries in English. As regards the usage, as I said, passive voice, we use it to change the focus of the sentence. So many cases it's because we don't want to express the subject or the doer of the sentence for different reasons. In this case, when it is unknown, we don't know who the doer of the action is. So we turn to the passive voice. The hole on the street was fixed. So the important thing is that the hole was fixed. We don't know who fixed it. Delicious meals are served here. We don't know who the cook is, but we know that this is the fact, so this is why we use the passive voice. Another usage, similar to the previous one, is when the subject is unimportant. The important thing is to express the object, so in this case, certificates will be delivered at the end of the conference. Or all flights have been cancelled. Again, the importance is on the other side of the sentence. This is why the focus is on this, the subject, that is the object of the situation. Another case, when we use the passive voice, is when the doer of the action is obvious. In this case, my friend was arrested, is of course by the police, but we cannot even mention it. The idea is when it is obvious, we just omit the agent and say, my friend was arrested. Another case is we can use modals with the passive voice. For instance, something must be done about the problem. This task can be done by anyone, and many languages may be learned in a lifetime. So we can combine the auxiliary be with modals, leaving it in the infinitive form. So there are many more uses of the passive voice, but I just presented the main ones. So I hope you understand and keep learning English.